Hey, good morning, everybody. We're not at the Red Barn today. We are in Emeryville at the European Auto Salvage Yard, or EASY, as they say. And this is the monthly first Saturday of every month gathering of Porsches, but you get some other stuff. And today is toy drive day here as we're approaching Christmas. So the gang here does a great job of pulling together a bunch of toys for the kids, and then the local fire department's going to come and pick them all up, and it's an annual thing, and it's a super cool thing to do. And it turned out to be the best toy drive ever. The regular setup is everybody gets there, the fire truck comes, we load all the toys in, we gather around for a picture, and yay, great event. Well, this time the fire truck came, loaded all the toys in. People went, wait a second, there's a whole bunch more toys. And the truck actually had to leave, go back to the station, unload the first load, come back, fill up again. So it was just a great turnout. The donations were over the top. It was just great to see. And then one of the local news stations, one of the guys alerted one of the local news stations, and they came and they did a segment on it. So that's kind of cool. Helps spread the word. I thought you might enjoy just seeing a quick walkthrough of all the cool stuff that happens here. And there are just never-ending cool cars. Everything from a lot of R group representation here, as you might guess, but some reasonably stock 914s to some super cool restored. This is one of my favorites, really cool 912. And then everything in between. Ooh, a sepia brown 914. You hardly ever see that color. Cars in progress, just like mine. But it goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on. So we'll be back a little bit later on. And oh, slant nose. Oh, look at that. Oftentimes a polarizing car, but how do you not love that? That's just beautiful, I think. Oh yeah, here's some other stuff on the other side. But anyway, you get the idea. And then coffee and donuts too. Not just one slant nose today. Two. Look at this one. I love these things. So pretty. So cool. Oh, great license plate too. Bam. Okay, I told you that eventually I was going to replace those cheesy little rubber grommets that go around the base of the roll bar support struts with something else. Well, I met this guy on 914 World, Andrew, and he happens to be Mr. 3D printer guy. I can fill you in on more detail if you want it later on. But he sends me this picture the other day and says, would this work? And out of nowhere, he 3D prints an 1.5 inch diameter, cool little hardwared trim ring. So he was kind enough to meet me here at the event. Oh, look at all these cool cars. And we're gonna see if these will work out, and I think they will. But there you go. So oh good God, there's two. There's two. So we're gonna give this a go and see what we think. And I can't complain because this was a nice little surprise. But anyway, there you go. Andrew, thank you very much. And we'll be back with a fit test here in a little bit. What do we think? There they are. Trim rings. Better looking than cheap ass rubber grommets that have been split with a razor blade. Yep, a little beefier. But I think I like them. They certainly look a lot more finished, and obviously when this stuff all gets painted, it'll look a little bit more professional, but there you go. So Andrew, how cool is that? I just need 6 more now. All right, getting there. Okay, so as well as some little things like these trim rings, I decided to go after getting caught up on some of the other nice-to-haves. And in the case of what I'm working on right now, you've never really gotten a close look at what's going on under here. The answer is it's messy. The wiring harness is not even sheathed. I've got, things hanging out, not done. And that's because I haven't gotten to it yet. And so I'm going to get to some things today. And the thing I'm getting to is the windshield wipers. And the car's never had wipers in it. And, it's not a bad idea to have them. Now, I'm not trying to do like the super duper most awesome windshield wiper setup, high-low speed, intermittent, or anything like that. This is really just a proof of concept to get, you know, hey, I got wipers. If I get caught in a mist, I can, you know, not worry about it. If it's torrential downpours, I'm not driving this car anyway. Okay, so, but what I'm up to here is I'm working with the power management unit, the ECU Master 16, or the PMU 16, which is mounted, you know, right there. And for those of you that aren't aware, power management units, PMUs are essentially solid state fuse relay replacements. And what's nice about them is they're programmable. And so what I've done here is I've got, this is the software product, or the software program from ECU Master. And I've got my current system plugged in here. And so what I've done is I've got just a quick setup. I'm only going to run a 1-speed wiper on low, on off switch, just something really simple. You can do fancier stuff like you've seen in the intro to this car, you know, the programming on the light switch. It can do all this kind of super cool programming. I just wanted to get windshield wipers to have a low speed to work on them. So I got that all set up, and then I've got it sort of, you know, I just have my windshield wiper setup sitting here on the ground, tied together with alligator clips, just to get a proof of concept. So I want to make sure that this all works before I go too crazy. So I'm just going to turn on the ignition. And what you're seeing here, over here, this is what's currently running. With the key on, I've got things like power to the dash, power to the Raptor wireless. There's a couple of other things that are just, you know, it's feeding. This is, you know, the fuses and relays. And now if I click, let's see, if I click I should get on channel number 8, which is what I've programmed, whoops, I should get, if it works, I click it on, oh, look at that. I have power going out circuit 8. And my windshield wiper motor is going to try to walk away across the shop floor. But it works. Look at that. Yay! And again, what's kind of cool, this monitor right here is giving me the total amp draw of what's going on that's running. And so you can see with the windshield wipers running, I'm running between sort of 2 and 3 amps of draw. Now, for instance, I'm going to go ahead and turn my turn signal on and watch what happens. And you'll see another one of these circuits light up, but it's going to do something slightly different. Oh, there it goes. So there's my right turn signal. You know, and it's drawing power, not drawing power, because it's blinking. And now I can see what my power consumption's like. And what's nice about this, I'm going to go ahead and turn off the turn signal and turn off the windshield wipers. And might as well just turn off the key. So what's kind of cool, or what I really like about stuff like this is it's just not only does it replace fuses and relays, but it's got functionality well beyond that. So you can program it. Here's a setting called retry count. So if for some reason I had a short in my blinker, what this would say is, hey, I'm gonna try 3 more times. When I see a failure, I'm going to try that circuit again 3 times after waiting however long you tell me to wait. This one just happens to be half a second because this is a super low risk system. But I'm going to wait a half a second and try it again up to 3 times. And then I'll throw an error. And the error that it throws, I'm going to go ahead and turn the key back on. And the only reason that one's red is because it knows it's in hooked to the PC mode. It knows it's in laptop mode. Normally that's a green light. But what you can see is any system or any circuit that's running and it's, quote, good. I'm going to turn my blinkers back on. And now you can see the blinking light is saying, yep, that circuit's doing what it's supposed to do. If it stopped doing what it was supposed to do, it'd try 3 times, and then it would throw a red light in that circuit. So I can look down there. Not like I have memorized that my blinkers are on that circuit, but you get the idea. I just turned it off. If I turn the wipers back on, you can see a different circuit goes. If I turn the blinkers back on, I got all kinds of stuff happening down there now. Let's turn everything off. Turn the key off. Right? So, really, really neat stuff. I just love this kind of electronic stuff because it gives you the opportunity to do so many interesting things. And so now I'm going to go ahead and make up a harness that plugs onto the windshield wiper motor and comes out and terminates in a Deutsche connector. And even though right now I'm just doing this quick and dirty, just want it to be able to, on, off, stop, there's also a full-blown park function that the PMU can support, as well as the high speed. And I can probably even program in like a single, if I wanted to get crazy with the programming, I can program it so if I just click the button for a second, I can get like a single swipe. And then if I hold it down for like more than 2 seconds, like the headlight thingy we talked about, it'll then turn it on low. And then if I do it again, it'll go to high. And if I hold it down for 2 seconds, it shuts everything off. So I can do fancier stuff. And I'm going to go ahead and plan ahead for that by providing enough connectors on this harness that I can go there in the future, should I so desire. But for right now, I just want to do the quick and dirty, make the windshield wipers work so that if I get stuck in the rain, I'm okay. All right, so I'm just going to go with the, like I said, just two conductors at this point, power and ground. And for the low-speed power, I just snipped off a piece of the same color cable, same color conductor rather, that I have feeding it from the PMU. So that's why this is gray. And then I'm just going to run the traditional black ground wire. And back to being a tool whore, I love the right tools for the job. This is a really nice wire stripper that's got a user adjustable, whatever you want to call it, strip length. And so, it's got a bunch of different, it's going to be impossible to see, but there's a bunch of different sized openings in here for the different sized wires. And so when you're going to build your connector, these are again Deutsche connectors, and these are the open barrel terminals, or the open barrel pins rather. And what you can do, you can see, all you want is enough exposed conductor to be able to be grabbed by this, and then these back two, sort of grippers, if you will, are going to get a hold of the insulation on that. So you only want to strip back like, that much. And what's nice is these wire strippers, you can just adjust this stop to give you exactly how much you want. And then all you do is push the wire in until it hits the stop, and boop, you strip the wire. And by picking the right sized hole, there's a number of different for each size wire back in these jaws, you're ensuring that you're only stripping the insulation off of the conductor, and you're not getting into trying to use some snips like this where you risk getting into some of these conductors and damaging them or cutting them off. So once we've got that, now we pick up our terminal. And obviously it depends on, if you're going to use the male terminal or the female terminal, the male terminal, which pin type you're going to use. So you just get the appropriate pin type. And I'm sure, there may even be rules about, the male's supposed to be on the harness, the female's supposed to be on the, the external component, but I'm not worried about that. So I am going to use these pins. Oh, and again, back to the right tools for the job. This is a set of crimpers that allow for interchangeable jaws. So this is an MSD product. You can get these from Summit Racing. And you can get jaws for everything from like spark plug wires to the GM Delphi terminals. These happen to be for Deutsche terminals. And it's super cool. Again, you'll never be able to see it. Maybe you can see it, but there's like a step in the jaws. And if you look closely at the terminal, you can see that there's the back side of this steps down a teeny bit, and that just sets right into the jaws. So you get the appropriate sized wire. These always are spread a teeny bit too wide from the factory, which is better than too closed. And you can position the terminal exactly where it needs to be. Yeesh. You can see it, okay. And it just locks it in to exactly where it's supposed to be, so that each size of these jaws is on the exact right part of that terminal. And then you insert your wire, and you've cut it to the right length, and then it's just a one and done. And what you get is just an immaculate little crimp on that terminal. And then what's cool is, once you've got your pin, if you haven't worked with the Deutsche connectors before, these are disassemblable. So you can build your connectors, and if you screw something up, you get a wire in the wrong place, you can just release the wire real quickly with a straight blade screwdriver. There's actually a special tool, but essentially a small straight blade screwdriver. And so, you know, pick your position in this slides, and it just goes in until you hear the click. And it is locked right in there. Now, once everything's all the way done, there's another piece that'll get put in that locks that pin from being able to move around. This one slides into this piece, and when this one's all the way done, this one will slide into here, and you've locked all your terminals in place, and away you go. So I've got one side done. Now I go on to do the rest of this little harness build. Well, and there you saw the typical mistakes that I make, which is I was so enthralled with the Deutsche stuff that I forgot to remember that these just can be regular spade connectors going onto these down here. So I sacrificed one of those nice Deutsche connectors and then had to cut that off. And then, I don't know if you saw, I hate those little plastic covered terminal spade connectors, but that's what I had. And they're decent quality, but I just hate those little plastic covers. And so I snip that off and go ahead and crimp it onto the wire, onto the conductor, and then I just heat shrink down some DR25 onto it. So there's my power lead, and I'm just going to have, like I said, I'm just going to have a short little harness coming off of here that I can route to wherever I need to, secure it to the chassis, and away we go. So the other thing I forgot, being silly, is this is the ground wire. It's actually on the body of this. So it doesn't have to actually go to the connector because I'm going to run this to another ground location on the body. So I think this is just going to be a separate wire that lives on here. And actually that's good because there are actually 4 connectors here plus this ground. And I don't think I'm going to end up, I may need all of these for the plan, the future plan. But if I do, that's a good idea that this is just a separate lead. And then I have all 4 of my connectors that I can use in here. And so this is mispinned because I don't want that in there. And as I mentioned, you know, there's a, this is actually the Deutsche tool. And you can see that one end of it is just a screwdriver. And that's the one for releasing this set of pins, this side pins. So I just pry that little lever down and out comes the wire. So the nice thing about this is, like I said, if you mispin something, it's 2 seconds and away you go. Now, it's not that regular connectors aren't okay. That was just a heat gun cooling off. It's not that regular connectors aren't okay, but what you get out of a connector like this, and they're a bit more expensive than, you know, the cheap stuff, but it's the repeatability of disconnects. A factory connector in a regular production car is typically, you know, I may be getting the numbers wrong, but it's like, you know, they want you, they're rated to a service life of, you know, 10 or 20 disconnects. And these are much higher. And when you get into like the Deutsche Auto Sport connectors and the fancy high-end motorsport stuff, they're hundreds of disconnects. They're rated for that. So you don't really have to worry about pulling stuff apart and putting it back together numerous times, which, as you can tell from the way I do things, I end up doing. So anyway, there we go. One connector, one wire, one part of the harness, and I'm just going to keep chipping away at this. And then I got to go crawl into the car and put the other end of this connector on while things are in place, which is a little bit more tedious because I got to kind of fit myself in there to do it. So I'll just show you that when it's done. A little bit of wiring later, and we turn on the ignition, and here you can see the wireless paddle. There's my windshield wiper button. If I push it, the wipers are going. And what I didn't do is I didn't go after the full functionality that the PMU supports of having the park function, which is when you turn off you don't have to pay attention to when you turn off your windshield wipers. It knows where they're supposed to stop and it makes them stop there. But this wiper motor, I think, needs to be wired slightly differently than the PMU, thinks it otherwise might. But what I've been noticing is you can kind of watch where this thing is, and I'll just see if I can give you a demo of it. But you can see it goes, all the way, all the way, all the way, all the way. And if I just stop it, that was just me guessing. And if you watch how much it moves clockwise, that's how much I missed it by. And it didn't move at all clockwise. So I think, I think I can get it to the point where I don't even really need the park function. I mean, it's more sophisticated to have it, and I'll probably try to chase that down just because it's cooler that it would work completely like that. But if I don't, then I don't. But there we go. That's it for this episode. Couple of little things done, and progress down the road. So appreciate you guys watching. I hope everybody has a safe and happy holiday season, and y'all take care now. We'll talk to you next time. Bye bye.